Today we're checking out 5 things that aren't so great about the South Bay. What's up, everybody? I'm Cheyneinman, a local realtor here in Southern California. And on this channel, we cover everything outdoors and community within the South Bay. So if that's something you're interested in, be sure to subscribe and click the little bell so you're notified every time I put out a new video. I constantly get people reaching out, calling and texting because they're moving to the South Bay or Southern California. So if that's you and you're thinking of moving to the area and you're not even sure where you're at in your search so far, feel free to call or text or reach out. I'd love to hear from people, and no matter where you're at in your journey, I'm sure I can help. All right, so first off, let's take a look at the South Bay. I mean, the South Bay is huge. Obviously, you've got a lot of cities. You've got Hawthorne, Inglewood, Lawndale, Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, Torrance, Palos Verdes, Carson, just to name a few. So it's a very big area, and obviously every little city is slightly different from the other. As you get closer to the beach, it becomes a little bit more vacation traffic coming in and out. The homes are a little bit more expensive. As you get a little bit more east, you're a little bit closer to freeways. So each area has its own benefits and cons. And so today I figured we'd go over just a few things that over the years since I've lived here, I've noticed that are kind of problem for me, and could be something that maybe somebody does not want to move to the South Bay for because of one of these reasons. All right, so this first one might seem a little ridiculous to some people, but that first one's June Gloom. And, if you're living in Southern California, they say it's sunny and 75 all year long. And to that, there is some truth to that. However, there's a few months in the summertime, particularly, where I feel like it should be warm and it's just not. I grew up in Northern California, and to me, summertime means 100 plus degree weather, going to the beach, going to the lake, or just staying indoors in an air conditioned home. And that really doesn't quite happen here in the summertime because you don't get those crazy hot days during the summer, particularly in the start of summer. So, school gets out typically for the high schools, elementary schools, middle schools at the end of May, beginning of June. And so you think, okay, summer started. But here you get kind of an overcast, gloomy kind of weather in June. So they call it, June gloom, because throughout June, you're just not feeling that summer vibe that you might get in other areas of California and throughout the US. And obviously, that's kind of being picky because, the weather here is great all year long. But the summertime particularly, I feel like it should be, super warm and sunny and heading out to the beach. And a lot of times during the summer, I just feel like I almost missed the summer, like as in I didn't know that it happened because one, I'm, not in school, so, it's not a summertime vacation. But two, I don't feel those super crazy hot days that you feel during the summertime. And that's not to say that those days don't exist. It's just more sporadic. You might get a 90-degree day in January out of nowhere and everyone goes to the beach, or you might get a few warm days in July or August, or you might have like a late summer, and so September might be really nice weather and warm and everyone headed to the beach if kids aren't going back to school already. But yeah, I guess that June gloom is something that kind of really bothers me about the South Bay because it's a time when I feel like, okay, summer's starting and it doesn't feel like summertime yet. So it's being a little bit picky, but that's kind of one of the things I have a problem with the South Bay. And number 2 is parking. So, Southern California in general has problems with parking, but particularly when you get into the beach communities, because, everyone wants to go to the beach, especially during the summertime, and you're getting all that excess traffic. And they do have permits, like let's say you live in Hermosa Beach, you can pay the city for a residence permit so that you're not having to pay for a parking meter that's right outside your house. But the scarcity of parking just is a little bit of a problem kind of throughout the South Bay, whether it be going to the store or going to the mall, going to the beach, whatever it might be in your daily life that you're doing. It's just a little bit crowded, like I said, especially during the summertime, and you're having to find parking or you're having to pay for parking, which is pretty common, especially in the beach towns, that wherever you go, you're going to have to pay for a coin or metered parking. And, if it's a meter, it's not a big deal, but it's a little bit frustrating when the meter only takes quarters and or coins, and you don't have any coins on you, and so you can't use your card. So that's something that can be a little bit frustrating. Another thing that I noticed when my wife and I lived in Hermosa Beach, we rented it was like basically almost like a studio. It was basically a bachelor's pad, very, very small, probably 300 square feet apartment, and it was above a garage, and it was an older building, and the garage was old. We paid $1,600 a month for the unit, and we thought, oh, there's a garage underneath. That's great. We'll get a garage. Parking's kind of tough right around this area. And the landlord said, no, if you want the garage, that's an extra $300 a month. So we did not rent the garage, and somebody else actually rented the garage below us, which made it even more frustrating when you're trying to go to bed at night and you hear the garage door open, or they're coming over there early in the morning and getting stuff out of the garage, and you hear the garage door open and wake you up in the morning. So that's one thing that can be a little frustrating about parking. If you don't have parking outside your place, it can be a little bit difficult, and it's a little bit pricey to rent a garage, and there are not a lot of options for that. So that's something to keep in mind. And number 3 is scarcity of homes, or just kind of the overpopulatedness of the community. And so that's kind of Southern California all over as well. But you do get a lot of homes that are pushed very close together, or maybe they're next to a business. The real estate locations in this area are in such high demand that people are willing to have a home next to a restaurant or a business, or they're willing to be in tight corridors next to their neighbor, or two units on a lot is very common, especially in like Redondo Beach. You've got units that they call them tall and skinny, which is basically just a fancy way of saying you're going to be very close to your neighbors. And so those things are very common here, and so that's something you have to be very comfortable with. If you're looking for a big backyard, big front yard, and a lot of space away from your neighbors, that will be very difficult to find, and it will be very pricey. Not to say it's not possible, but if you're looking, for instance, in the Hollywood Riviera section of Torrance, and you want a really big backyard, you might be getting close to the $2 million mark to find what you're looking for, especially if you're not wanting an older home needing more updates. So every section of the South Bay is different, and some are more pricey and some are more affordable than others, and there's gives and takes on that. But I just feel like the South Bay throughout, the scarcity of homes is definitely a problem, and everybody has been wanting to move as of lately. So because of that, it has made for a very competitive market, and people are kind of in a spot where they're like, okay, I'll take what I can get. But if you're, patient, you know what you want, there are the opportunities out there. You just have to be patient and figure out exactly what it is you want and be in the price range that you can afford. And number 4 is the long lines at restaurants. And this one, might be a little bit nitpicky, but, throughout the South Bay, there are some awesome restaurants, but it seems like the ones that are open on the weekends are packed all day long, and there's a long line outside. So even though there are a lot of options, and there are a lot of great options, I guess it goes back to the overcrowdedness of the community. Everybody wants the same things. Everyone wants to be in the same area. Everyone wants to be by the beach, and everyone wants to have a nice breakfast or brunch or lunch on the beach or near the beach, and because of that, it does make for some very overcrowded lines. So if you're looking to go to a breakfast place on the weekend, you need to get there early and, if possible, get reservations. And number 5 is the traffic. And I don't mean the traffic as in the freeway. Obviously, Southern California is known for the craziness of their freeways. I feel like there was no thought process in the development of all the different freeways and how they intersect in Southern California. But that's not what I'm talking about. In the South Bay, it can take a long time to get from one point to the next. Like if you're in Manhattan Beach, and like for me, I might go on the weekend to Palos Verdes to go for a run, and it might take from Manhattan Beach to Palos Verdes, it might take you 20 minutes to get there, because there's just such a long line of cars, especially if you're going early morning on a weekday when there's traffic, or in the afternoon, evening, people are getting off work. So just kind of there's a lot of traffic within the communities just to get out of the communities, just to get to a freeway. So there's a lot of small streets, and those small streets, especially if there's a school nearby in the early mornings, it can be difficult to get out of your street. When I lived in Manhattan Beach, I was right by an elementary school, and the streets are very tight and the parking was very tight. So, even without people going and walking their kids to school, it's already a little bit crowded on some of those streets. And so it makes it even tougher when you're having to wait for the car that's across from you coming at you to get through before you can get through, because the streets are too narrow to go through with the parked cars on each side and people walking across the streets for walking kids to school. So just something to think about if you are thinking of moving. Make sure that if you have to be at work at a certain time, you may want to think about how close you are to a school and how big are the roads that you're living on or looking to move on, because that could slow down your commute just to get to a freeway. I hope that was helpful. I love living in the South Bay, and there are things that are frustrating about living here, but I think overall it's a great community to be a part of in any one of the cities. Like I said, there's quite a few: Gardena, Lawndale, Hermosa Beach, Torrance, Palos Verdes. So there's a lot of great options, and it's just finding the option that fits you the best and the community that you feel the most at home in. And if you are looking to move to Southern California, or specifically the South Bay, feel free to call or text or reach out anytime. Thanks.